So we said yesterday that Ruvain goes back to the what do you call it? And Yosef is missing because the brothers have sold him. Now, what's interesting is that the first person that they sell him to, they saw page 204. Who is the first group they see? The Yishmaelim. Now, what's really interesting is that there's a remarkable concept here. Do you remember Yishmael when Sarah Imenu decides that Yishmael has to be thrown out of the house? Do you remember why she says he has to be thrown out of the house?
So he wouldn't inherit.
He wouldn't be a negative influence on Yitzhak. Right, yeah. What was he doing? Page 96, top of the page. Vateres Sarah es ben Hagar hamitzris asher yoldu leAvraham mitzachek. She saw he was mitzachek. Now, what is mitzachek? And because he was mitzachek comes from laughter. He was the Art Scroll translated as mocking. Mocking is a bold translation. Mitzachek means he was playing around, he was sporting, he was laughing. I wouldn't have translated as mocking, but it's a valid translation. But then look what Rashi says, top Rashi on the right column. Mitzachek loshon avodas kochavim. It's an expression used with idol worship. We find a pasuk that associates it with idol worship. Second line, last word on the line of Rashi, davar acher loshon ritzicha. It's murder. And then he quotes a pasuk to ratify that. And then he says in the second line, davar acher gilu arayos. Immorality. So for each one, he says, Mitzachek, we find a verse associating Mitzachek with idol worship, immorality, and murder. That means Sarah Imenu takes a look at Yishmael. She says, I don't like it. I don't like it. He's either doing it or he's got the potential to do it. But that's what Yishmael represents. The Gemara says, somebody who speaks Lashon Hara raises his Averas. It's difficult. It says, Megadel Avonos. Let's call it, speaking Lashon Hara is parallel to idol worship, immorality, and murder. I mean, them's fight man's words, right? Well, I spoke Lashon Hara, idol worship, immorality, and murder. Why should that be? If somebody, anti-Semite, pulls a gun on you and says, commit idol worship or I'll kill you, you have to give up your life, right? Says, commit immorality or I'll kill you, you have to give up your life. He says, speak Lashon Hara, I'll kill you. It's like, oh, what would you like to know? Personal life, private life, business life, anything you want. You don't have to give up your life not to speak Lashon Hara. So how could the Gemara say, well, if you speak Lashon Hara, it's parallel to the three cardinal sins? That's pretty severe. So the Chavetz Chaim explains the explanation. That's a statement in the Gemara. The explanation is like this. The way God works is what we speak about all the time. Mida keneged mida, you get what you deserve. Now, if theoretically it's possible, the person worshipped idols, committed all three cardinal sins. But he doesn't speak Lashon Hara. Strange person. He does everything in the book, but he won't say anything bad about anybody. Right? He murdered somebody, but won't say anything bad about the guy. Right? So what happens is, every time you do an Avera, you commit a prosecuting angel. Every Avera, every mitzvah you do, you create angels that defend you. You create angels that speak favorably for you. If you commit an Avera, every time you do an Avera, then you are creating negative angels. Now, they can only prosecute you if they have a mouth to talk in court. If you're a person who doesn't speak Lashon Hara, there's a piece of tape. You've created these horrific angels, but they all have tape on their mouth. They can't talk because you don't talk. So the instant you speak Lashon Hara, what have you done? You've activated them. In other words, when you speak Lashon Hara, you have now activated, you've energized those angels that you've created in whatever area it is, and it might be idol worship, immorality, and murder. And as soon as they take the tape off, you took your own tape off because you spoke Lashon Hara. Up until that point, they couldn't prosecute you. Okay, that's whatever that means exactly. What it means is that somehow you're energizing it. Now, what were the brothers accusing Yosef of over here? What was Yosef's flaw? What was Yosef's flaw over here? Yosef's flaw was the Lashon Hara. So since Yosef's flaw was Lashon Hara, who is it that he gets sold to? A bunch of Yishmaelim. Yishmael, who is guilty of Lashon Hara, is the one of the three cardinal sins. So Yosef, who's speaking Lashon Hara, according to the brothers, and is guilty of three cardinal sins, or activating them, gets sold to the Yishmaelim, who are... What's really amazing is, if you look up the Gemara, the statement in the Gemara that somebody speaks Lashon Hara is parallel to the three cardinal sins. The statement is made by Tana the Bay Rebbe Yishmael. There's a Rebbe Yishmael in the Gemara. He's the one who makes the statement. So somebody who speaks Lashon Hara is what do you call it, is guilty of the three counts. It's Tana the Bay Rebbe Yishmael. Rebbe Yishmael is the name you find in the Gemara. There are people, Tanaim named Yishmael. Rebbe Yishmael was a very common sparring partner with Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, one of his chavrusas, one of the people he argues with.
Why did he get named after Ishmael?
Because Yishmael at the end of his days did tshuva. He did tshuva. He died at, Rashi says he died at Tzaddik. So that's why some people, they named it. Nowadays, I don't know.
It's not a really popular name.
Nobody that I know is named Yishmael. I don't know a Jew named Yishmael. It could be that after a certain period of time when we had trouble with the Ishmaelim, so nobody named their kids. I don't know anybody named Haman either. Haman Goldstein. I never met a Haman. I never met a Haman. There is Nimrod. Nimrod is a popular Israeli name, and Nimrod, the Torah says, was a rat.
Adolf used to be popular too.
Adolf was a popular. I don't know. I knew a guy in Shul named Adolf, and I remember a secular guy I used to play ball with. And I remember him telling me that his father's name was changed from Adolf to Allen because Adolf wasn't a popular name in the United States in the 50s. So there were not too many Adolfs, right? But what do you call it? Nimrod is a very popular was I don't know if it still is a popular Israeli name, but like my wife said, naming a kid Nimrod is like naming a kid Haman. And I get the Nimrod. I actually had some secular relatives up north, completely detached from Judaism, completely no connection. And we always managed. My brothers and I always managed our family. We tried to keep some sort of. So we were once up there. Somebody had died, so we went up there to comfort the mourners. So therefore, their brand of sitting shiva wasn't quite the they kind of informally sat shiva. And then we were sitting in a room. My brother and I are sitting there. And we're meeting some distant relatives. Somebody's introducing, and I remember he says, "This is Zed David." He introduces David, and he introduces somebody else. This is Guy. And all of a sudden, this little kid comes, a 1-year-old baby comes crawling across the floor, and says, "I'm Zed Nimrod." Right? And little Nimrod comes crawling across the floor. And my brother and I did not make eye contact. We just could not make. If we would have made eye contact, we would have either started laughing or crying. I'm not sure which one, but we just. And my mother had told me that there was a Nimrod somewhere in the family. But when you see it, the kid comes crawling, a real cute little kid. There's Nimrod. It's like naming a kid Haman. So you would never get something like that. Reuven goes back. 206, and Reuven is panic stricken because he realizes he's the one who's going to have to go to Yaakov Avinu. And let him know. But Reuven also understands there's another reason he's going to be blamed. Why should Reuven feel that he's going to be blamed more than anybody else? Reuven senses that he's going to be blamed over here. Why Reuven more than anybody else? So it's natural that the firstborn is responsible. That's true, but take it a little deeper. What does Yaakov seem to be doing with Yosef all along? He seems, by choosing him and giving him the cloak and everything else, he seems to be making him the man. And up until now, who's supposed to be the man? Reuven's supposed to be the man. And he's making Yosef the man by giving him who's got the most motivation? Who should have, by rights, who should have the deepest hatred? It's Reuven. Reuven says, if anybody's going to be suspected over here, I'm going to be blamed because I'm the one responsible. I'm the oldest one. And more than that, if anybody's suspect over here, it's me who's going to be suspect because I'm the one who stands the most to lose here. Because I'm really supposed to be the firstborn, and therefore Reuven is panic-stricken. So what do the brothers do? Vayiklu es ksones Yosef, they take Yosef's ksones. Vayishchatu seir izin, they shecht a goat. Vayitbulu es uketodes badam, they dip it in blood. And Rashi says, why did they choose a goat? Rashi says, because, a third line of Rashi, for right column, Damo Dome Lishel Adam. The blood of the goat it looks like human blood. It's similar to human blood. So this will be the form of deception. And then they're going to take. So what do? Vayishalchu es ksonos hapasiv ve'aviu el avim. They send it to their father. Vayomru zos matzana. This is what we found. Hakir na haksonos bin chayimo. Recognize it. Is this your son's garment? Vayakira, Yaakov recognizes it. Vayomer ksonos bini, it is his son. Chayara, chalosu, he's been consumed by a wild animal. Torah Yosef. Yosef's been. How does that translate it? Yosef's been torn to bits. So what do the brothers do? They dip it in a goat's blood. Rashi says, goat's blood looks like human blood. Okay, I don't know how much. I guess. But you see, there's also a tremendous defense over here for the brothers. The defense over here. The brothers are covering their tracks in more ways than one. They'll send in the cloak with that. What if Yaakov gets through it? What if Yaakov goes, say, this is very suspicious, this isn't human, this is goat's blood. What if he blows their cover? What were you trying to do, guys? Trying to deceive me? What's their defense? Dad, you also deceived your father using goats. Right? Listen, all right, we did, but, either you could or you can't. And remember, this goes back to what Lavan did to Yaakov also. What Leah said to Yaakov also when she deceived him, and Yaakov discovers it's Leah, and she says, hey, why'd you deceive me? He says, well, listen, is there a Rebbe who doesn't have a disciple? I mean, I learned from you. You deceived your father, So you understand. So there's a fallback plan over here in case he blows our cover. So at a minimum, we could say, well, we thought it was okay to do this. Now, of course it's chutzpah. I mean, listen, selling your brother is not no pride, no mitzvah either. The whole thing is not, you're not doing the right thing over here, but like you try to cover your tracks as much as you can. The whole thing is, that's only a fallback plan, and Yaakov is deceived. Okay, now, Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman. You've heard of Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman? Who was the one who was killed by the Ukrainians in the ninth fort in the Holocaust. He was the main disciple of the Chafetz Chaim. Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman was the head of the Baranovich Yeshiva. So Elchanan Wasserman writes in one of he asks the following question: why is it that all through Jewish history there have been blood libels? What was the nature of a blood libel? It was always the same thing. Jews have killed a Christian child and put the blood where? In the matzah. Pesach was always that. There were blood libels against Jewish communities. There have been blood libels all through history. As recent as, I think, 1950 in Russia, there was a blood libel, and it's always the same thing. The Jews have killed a Christian child and taken the blood and used the blood. Now, you stop and think about the ridiculousness of that claim. Number one, Jews don't kill. Number two, Jews don't use blood, human blood. And number three, of all things, matzah. You ever been in a matzah baking factory? Matzah baking factory, you look on a box of matzahs, there's ingredients: flour, water. That's what it says on the box. There's nothing, no preservatives, no salt, no sugar, no nothing. And people are absolutely, in a matzah factory, when you're baking matzahs, hand matzahs, you have to scrape your fingernails between each set of matzahs. They're so careful that nothing mixes in. Of all the ridiculous blood libel, of all the ridiculous, what do you call it, in the fame, right, absolutely ridiculous. And they've persevered for a couple thousand years.
It would also be red.
What's that?
The matzah would be red.
Yeah, we're right. So if you told me, the Jews killed the Christians, they took blood, they put it in the chalt. Okay, who knows what goes in the chalt? Yeah, it's got that brownish color. Yeah, it's got that brownish color a little bit. I've seen stuff in chalt that it's unidentifiable. Okay, so they put some blood in. All right, okay, they put it in the gefilte fish. If you're ever missing your shoes, check the gefilte fish. It got ground up and tossed into the gefilte. Who knows what they put in? The matzah of all things, the most ridiculous thing, there was the one of the most famous blood libels, I think it was in 1912. There's a little Jewish man named Mendel Bayless. Mendel Bayless looked like he stepped out of Jewish Accountants magazine. A little guy with round glasses, couldn't kill a fly. And Mendel Bayless was accused of killing a Christian, a regular blood libel. So they had the famous Bayless-Mendel trial. Eventually he was acquitted. So Mendel Bayless was on trial. They called in the non-Jewish maid as a character witness in the court case, as a character witness for Mendel Bayless. She said, look, I've been working in this Jewish home for years, and Mrs. Bayless, when she opens an egg, if she sees one spot of blood on the egg, she throws the egg out. Jews are not using blood in matzahs. They don't have blood. Jews have such an aversion to blood. One little spot, and she'll throw out an entire egg. That was her testimony. Absolutely ridiculous. So why have blood libels persevered for thousands of years without an iota of truth, especially since we know that for a lie to for any lie to be successful, there's got to be some element of truth in it. Otherwise, people go, why is it? So Elchanan Wasserman writes, it's a punishment for this over here. Because the brothers deceived Yaakov by dipping the cloak in blood, that activated a decree against the Jewish people that through history, Jewish people are going to suffer the blood libels. A remarkable thing. The blood libel doesn't make any sense at all. They killed a Christian child. So that's what used to happen. When they find a dead Christian child, the Jews killed him. right? That was always how the blood libels are. They find the Jews killed him, and they must have used the blood for what he called. That was how the blood libels persevered. It made absolutely no sense. That's what Rebbe Chanan Wasserman says here. Okay, so they sell Yosef, and Yosef is sold to Potiphar, a man named Potiphar. Now, the next section of the Torah, next section of the Torah has to do with Yehuda and Tamar, where Yehuda goes off, and there's a whole episode. We don't have time to go into that now. I want you to skip to page 212. Okay, we're going to go back to. We're going to go on to Yosef in Mitzrayim because there are several extremely important lessons over here. Okay, so Yosef gets sold down, and then it says like this: Vayosef hurad Mitzrayim. Yosef is taken to Egypt. Vayiknehu Potiphar sris parosar hatabachim. He's a chief butcher. Ish Mitzrayim miyara Yishmaelim asher horidu shama. And then the Torah says at the top of 2:14. Vayehi Hashem es Yosef, vayi ish matzliach. He was very successful. Vayehi beveis adonav hamitzri. Now you got this Hebrew slave who's sold down to Egypt, and he's everything he's very successful. Vayar adonav, second line on 2:14. Vayar adonav ki Hashem ito. His master sees that God is with him. V'chol asher hu oseh Hashem matzliach biyodo. Right. So what does he do? Vayimtza Yosef chen be'inav. Yosef finds favor in his eyes. Vayishar, so he serves him. He gave him everything. He puts Yosef in charge of everything. I mean, rags to riches. He comes down there, he's working. This is a very high government official. And he immediately takes Yosef, and he sees Yosef successful, and the guy is blessed, and he ascribes it all to Yosef. And then, it says like this. Go to Pasuk Vav. We'll go to Pasuk Vav towards the end of the page. It's the seventh line from the top. This is where the adventure starts. Vayazov kol asher lo biyad Yosef. He leaves everything that he has in the hands of Yosef. V'lo yada'ito b'umay, did not withhold anything from him. Ki im halechem asher hu ochel, other than the bread that he ate, the bread that he consumed. That's the only thing he withheld. Vayi Yosef yifei Torah yifei Mara. Now what is this bread? Take a look at Rashi. Take a look at Rashi. The bread is not just bread. Says Rashi, es halechem. It's the second line on the right column. Second line, right column. Ki im halechem, says Rashi, he ishto. It's a reference to his wife. It's a reference to his wife. Ela midah shediber b'loshen nikia. The Torah uses a discrete euphemism. Instead of saying the man, well, he gave him everything except his wife, it says he gave him everything except the bread that he consumes. Meaning his wife. Okay, now, I'm going to show you something incredible. Do you know that what is this offering that we bring on Shavuos? On Shavuos, there's an offering called Shtei Halechem. 2 breads that we bring on Shavuos. Okay, on Shavuos, which is the holiday that celebrates the giving of the Torah, so there are these 2 breads that are brought, and they're made as chametz. And they're offered on the Shtei Halechem, which are brought with the sheep. On Shavuos, it's called the Shtei Halechem, the 2 breads. So the commentaries point out that why are we bringing an offering called 2 breads specifically on Shavuos, which is the holiday when we receive the Torah, number 1. And number 2, normally breads that are brought are not allowed to turn into leaven. They're not allowed to turn into chametz. They were brought as matzah. Yet these 2 breads on Shavuos are brought as chametz. Well, fascinating, interesting, and nothing's by accident in Torah. So the answer is, you see, chametz always represents the pleasures of life. What would you rather eat? Nice soft bread or hard brittle chametz? Right? Chametz represents ego and it represents pleasure. Bread puffs up, that's ego, and bread represents pleasure. So you have chametz represents the 2 areas where trouble starts: ego and the pursuit of pleasure. Okay, now on Shavuos, the Torah is given. What is it that we acknowledge on Shavuos? What has Torah done for us? This is one of the greatest misconceptions of anybody who's not observant. People look at Torah and think, well, if you become Torah observant, there goes your pleasure in this world. You're going to be Torah observant, so you got some sort of deal. You'll take the world to come, and you'll abandon this world. That's one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to Torah. Torah doesn't cause us to lose anything in this world. To the contrary, by activating self-control in this world, we enjoy this world more. If you're out of control, you get burnt out. When you're out of control with anything, you get burnt out. You start taking it for granted. It means it loses any real meaning and any real potential to give a person any satisfaction or pleasure. There are two areas of bread in the physical realm. There are two areas of physical pleasure. One is the area of food, and the other is the area, obviously, of immorality or immorality, be that as it may. What the Torah refers to, these two forms of pleasure, are both referred to as bread. There's bread in the literal sense, which is food, and there's bread over here in the euphemistic sense, which represents women. Those are the two areas of physical pleasure. There are no other areas of physical pleasure. Those are the physical pleasures of life. On Shavuos, we take two breads and bring them as an offering. We are acknowledging that Torah is what allows us to enjoy the physical pleasures, and as long as we control them, they don't control us. And therefore, we bring the two breads, and that's why Mrs. Potiphar is referred to as bread. Okay? Then comes the biggest test we're going to find any male has ever had in history. A person who is completely into food. Let's take food first. You can eat food and get to the point where it's revolting. Stuff yourself to the gills. And you can get to the point where you don't even appreciate it anymore. It loses any sense of any real appreciation. I remember when I was about 19. When I was about 20, there was a place, I found a place in Chicago that sold pistachio nuts at the time were a luxury. I think pistachio nuts cost like $6.99 a pound, right, for pistachio nuts. That was the standard. We found a place in Chicago that was this it was a snack outlet. They made candies. None of it was kosher. Somehow we came across this place. We discovered this place. They sold you a 5-pound bag. It was a factory. A 5-pound bag of pistachio nuts for $5. At the time, pistachio nuts were $6.99 a pound. 5-pound bag for $5. So every Friday I would drive down there and I would pick up one of these 5-pound bags of pistachio nuts for our family. We'd have for Shabbos. But after a few times of doing it, it didn't have the same, it wasn't as enjoyable as the first couple of times, because after all, this becomes the norm. You lose your sense of appreciation. Okay? Now, if ever this is true, in food for sure it's true. If you have what do you call it? If you have a steak every day, you don't have the same appreciation. You have a steak once every 2 weeks, you really enjoy the steak. If this is true in the area of food, in the area of marriage, and in the area of morale, it's for sure true. Why is Jewish marriage so successful? Jewish marriage is so successful because of the enforced separation. Because there's an enforced separation between husbands and wives. So then the Gemara says that a husband and wife get to experience their marriage night once a month. Because there's a renewal. In the area where there's no control, and it's just, no rules, so very quickly things become dull and boring. And in the Torah way of doing it, that's why Torah marriage is one of the reasons, among others, why Torah marriages are so successful. Because you don't take it for granted, because there's a limitation. Once there's a restriction and limitation, there are rules. The rules enhance it, and so instead of making it worse, it makes it better. And that's the way it is with everything that's done with self-control. It's not forbidden to eat. You just have to control yourself. You can't eat certain foods. You can't do certain things. But when you then have it, you appreciate it much more, as opposed to getting burnt out from it. People, if you take a look at people who live with life without rules, do these look like happy, content, fulfilled people? Or do they like people who are just burnt out of life? They just don't look, they got nothing to look forward to. They've taken away any of the excitement of life is gone. They're burnt out. It's meaningless. It's in the secular world today, people coming off of a college campus, what does marriage mean? A couple lives together for 5 years, then they get married. Well, what do we do? Oh, well, why do that to yourself? All you're going to do is make it worse, not better. Right? So in Torah, the self-control is what helps us. And the Torah doesn't say you're going to be a priest. The Torah doesn't say you're going to be an ascetic. To the contrary, you're going to enjoy life and you enjoy all the pleasures that anybody else does. You just have to do it with the rules and a little bit of self-control. And therefore, there's a much greater appreciation for it. And nobody in the world enjoys food as much as a Torah Jew enjoys Shabbos. It just can't be. You go to the fanciest French restaurant in the world. Nobody's going to enjoy the food as much as when you get to a chont after davening Shabbos morning. A good chont with some Jack Daniels next to it. I mean, that's against a show, all right. And then you lie down and take a nap afterwards. It's like a drug. Chont with some Jack Daniels. I mean, it's like that's more than any anesthesia they have in hospitals. They'll put you out. I mean, they'll put you out. Nobody. You should get a professional there to administer it. That stuff is dangerous. And nobody enjoys that. Who could enjoy that more, right? And that's only a result of the self-control that we have all along. That's where it comes from. And the proof is in the pudding, because you look at the people in the world who are out of control. Do these people look happy and satisfied? I once heard an interview with Howard Stern. Now, Howard Stern is not a tzaddik. I don't even think Howard Stern is Jewish, but I think his father's Jewish, not his mother. And Howard Stern said he could be at a book signing. There are thousands of people who are waiting to get his autograph, and he's just miserable. He doesn't even know why he's miserable. Of course he's miserable. He looks like he's somebody who died, and it's just that his soul hasn't left him yet. And it looks like he's, I've seen pictures. You see these guys. Look at it. I saw a picture of the what do you call it? Some of these guys, these Hollywood people. Look, it's like the guy is just a walking ghost. I saw a picture of the Stones. With the Stones when they were in the 60s. When they were in their 60s, they're still doing concerts. Mick Jagger is flying out over the crowd. He's 65, 70 years old. The guy looks like a ghost. The guy looks like somebody vacuumed life out of him, right? He's still breathing, but that's about it. They look horrible. They look like a person who's alive. And these people don't look like they're in their 40s. They look like they're in their 30s. They look like they're sapped of life's energy. Why? Because they're living unbridled, unharnessed, and out of control. Take a look at Torah Jews. The Torah Jews look like they're people who are unhappy with that. They're very happy. They're the happiest people in the world. Where, ironically, not because, I'm investing in the world to come. I'm talking about their life in this world. And that's what the Torah is teaching you. Okay? Now, let's go on. Here you have a major challenge. It was right after this. Vatisa Eshes Adona Venel Yosef. She raises her eyes to Yosef. Vatomer Shichva Imi. She says very bluntly, lay with me. Sleep with me. So there are commentaries who say, well, it's connected to the first part of the pasuk. She was only saying it with her eyes. Others say, no. She was just a very crude, pressed, forward person who had an absolute crush on Yosef, which was devastating her. So what happens is that when does she have her opportunity? There's a big celebration in Egypt. Big idol worshiping celebration, and everybody went out to the parade. And that was the day she felt that she has an opportunity. So she said to everybody, I don't feel well, I'm staying home. Right? That was the day she felt this is her best chance to get Yosef. So she says to Yosef, very, very, what do you call it? Very, very, very forward, very direct. Shichva imi. What does Yosef do? Vayima'ain. He refuses. And there's a line after Vayima'ain, like a break. Vayomer aleishes adonav hein adoni lo yoda yiti mamba boyis. My master has not withheld anything from me. V'chol asher yesh lo nasabeya. He gave me everything. Einenu gadol babayis azamimeni. There's nobody in this house greater than me. All he's done is withhold you. Because you're his wife. How can I do this, perpetrate this terrible evil? So the commentaries say, you know what? Look at how he responded to her advances. What's the first thing he does? The first thing he does is, Vayima'ain, he refuses. What's the trup on Vayima'ain? You notice the line over Vayima'ain is what we call a shalshelis. Vayima'ain is all. So there are two ways to read that. One is, it's a shalshelis is a chain. He's locking it up completely. That means, the first thing is, when you're in trouble, in this, especially this area of life, the first thing is, no. Now you want an explanation, I'll give you an explanation. Don't start with the explanation. Because if you start with the explanation, there's always a way to break through your explanation. First thing is, no, it's not going to happen. Now, how could I let it happen? He made me in charge. He withheld you. How could I do something like that? But the first thing is, let's get it clear. No, vayima'ain, refusal. First step is refusal. Because once you start talking in it, now, even more than that, why did she, at a deeper level, she had this premonition that she and Yosef are going to have descendants together. She has a premonition that they're going to have descendants together, joint descendants, which is true. They do, but not from her. Her daughter. Yosef ends up marrying her daughter. Now that she has a daughter, it's an adopted daughter. So the Medrash says like this. Listen to how these things play out. Let's go all the way back to Shechem. Shechem violates Dinah. Dinah gets pregnant and has a daughter named Asnat. Now, Asnat has a Jewish mother. But before Har Sinai, there's some confusion whether she follows the father or the mother's line. The brothers were of the opinion it goes after the father's line before Har Sinai, which means she's not Jewish. The brothers wanted to kill her. Yaakov Avinu was of the opinion that it goes after the mother. She is Jewish. But he knew the brothers wanted to kill her. That's what the Medrash says. So what did he do? He gave her a pendant with Hebrew writing on it and sent her down to Egypt. And she's adopted by this Mrs. Potiphar and his wife who don't have children. They adopt this wandering girl. Later on in the story, after Yosef becomes when Yosef interprets Paro's dream next week, and he goes out and he's in a carriage parading through Egypt. So as he's parading through, all the girls on the street are throwing jewelry at him. He's Egyptian. He's alone in Egypt. Asnat is out there, and she has this pendant, and she throws the pendant, and it lands right in Yosef's carriage. A lot of girls were missing. That's one of the miracles that a girl had such good aim. Okay? She throws the pendant, and it lands right in Yosef's carriage. So Yosef looks down, he sees there's a pendant with Hebrew writing on it. That's strange. And then he traces it down and finds out that this is Asnat, and he realizes she's from Yaakov Avinu's home, and eventually he marries her. Yosef marries Asnat. Okay? Now, so Mrs. Potiphar sees astrologically, we're supposed to have children together, right? She misreads it, and the misread is a result of her own personal desire. And if it's, you're absolutely sure, because what's really causing this is not her noble intentions. What's really causing this is simply her physical desire for Yosef. So she keeps pursuing him every day, and Yosef would not give in. Okay? Now, she grabs him, top of the next page. Eventually, she loses all patience, and on top of page 2, after every single day, there's actually a medrash that says, listen to this, man, I'll tell you what this lady's a real sweetheart. The medrash says that her friends saw that she just looked forlorn, she just looked horrible. So one day they said to her, Zuleika, her name was Zuleika. I could imagine with a name like that, that's probably why she was depressed. How do you like a name like Zuleika? So they said to her, Zuleika, why do you look so bad? You look terrible. She says, listen, I got this Hebrew slave by me. The guy is just, he's so handsome, and I just got such a crush. She said, hey, how handsome could he be? And I'm telling you, he's saying, oh, you're exaggerating. She says, okay, come over to the house. So she brings them into the house, and she gives them each vegetable to peel with extremely sharp knives. And then they're all sitting there peeling the vegetables, and she says, Yosef, come out. And Yosef comes out. And so as Yosef comes out, they're all like, wow. And they start cutting themselves and start bleeding because they're so focused on Yosef, they cut themselves with the knives. That was her way of letting them know how good looking Yosef was. That's what the Medrash says, right? So they're cutting themselves to pieces. So eventually, eventually on top of page 216, she grabs him by the garment, he leaves it and he runs outside. Yosef just flees outside, he just leaves it and he runs away. Okay, these are lessons for us, how to deal with the situation like that. Get out of there. Get out of there as fast as you can. Don't even kitzel around. Run away. When she saw that he left the garment in her hand. Now this looks really bad, because she's going to claim he attacked her, so what are you holding his garment for? Most people don't hold on to the attacker, you push the attacker away. So he says, when she left the garment in the end, she calls everybody, look, he brought this guy to make fun, to laugh at us. He came to attack me, and I started yelling because he was attacking me. He left his garment and ran outside. So the Medrash says that they went to court and they brought the garment to court, and the judges took a look at the garment, because if the guy's attacking, you're probably going to be ripped in the front, right? If it's ripped in the back, chances are if it's ripped in the back, it's not going to be, you don't grab a guy from the back when he's running away from you, the guy who's attacking you. So they check the garment and it's clear that that she's lying. They knew that she was lying. And even the master knows he's lying because he knows Yosef, he knows his wife. His wife's no Girl Scout, and he knows Yosef, and Yosef, everything about Yosef is pure and holy, and he knows Yosef wouldn't have been doing it. So the master comes over, what can he do? He doesn't, so normally he should be executed. Why doesn't he execute him right away? The guy's attacking your master's wife, so, he does not, they're going to kitzel around with the guy, but he knows Yosef's not guilty, on the other hand, he can't do nothing about it. So what does he do? He puts him into the prison. Okay, Yosef is put into the prison, that's how the storyline goes. Now, I want to tell you a medrash here. The medrash says that there's a Roman noblewoman. And she says, this Roman noblewoman says to him, come on, who are you trying to kid here? He's 17 years old, the hot-blooded 17-year-old male, with the advances of a woman chasing him around. And the medrash says she was all decked out, and she kept changing her clothing, and she kept trying to entice her. Who are you trying to kid with this story? I mean, take a kid, a 17-year-old who you sent to the University of Arizona. Right, and you tell me, well, he kept running away from this girl who's chasing him around. Come on, what are you insulting? Who are you trying? Oh yeah, well, this wasn't an old ugly one. This is the high officials. Come on, who are you trying to sell this to? So Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta said to Lebanon, the Torah says Ruvain, who was with Yaakov under his jurisdiction, the Torah says that Ruvain did something inappropriate, right? And what terminology did the Torah use? He lay with Bilhah, his father's wife, right? Now, we know that he didn't. She doesn't need to know that, but he says, look, the Torah says openly. And then the Torah says there's a whole section over with Yehuda and Tamar, being enticed by Tamar, who he thought was a harlot. He says, now here's Reuven and Yehuda, who are under their father's jurisdiction, and there, the Torah doesn't cover up for them. So Yosef, who's not under his father's jurisdiction, he's 17 years old, off in Egypt, which is immoral. If he did something wrong, they did something, we didn't cover up for them. He's the last one we'd cover up for. Him, we could understand him going off. And if the Torah doesn't cover up for him, you see, we don't whitewash things. So if the Torah didn't cover up for him, so it must be that he did. Otherwise, we wouldn't cover. Why would we cover it up? We don't cover things up. You see, we don't cover things up. And therefore, if we're telling you, it must be the truth. Now, this is a proof for everything you see in Torah. We don't whitewash. That's the proof we don't whitewash. Every single name in the Torah that you could pick out, remember we spoke about this once, almost every single name that you pick out in the Torah, when they went off, we pointed out openly. Avram Avinu said, how do I know? Give me a sign. Yet he's criticized for asking for a sign on God's promise. 400 years of punishment in Egypt. Yaakov Avinu married 2 wives. He got upset with Rachel when she didn't have children. Moshe Rabbeinu got angry. Aaron with the golden calf. Miriam spoke Lashon Hara. Every name, these are the greatest people in Jewish history. And the Torah says if they stepped out of line at their level, the Torah points it out. So if the Torah says he didn't do it, you could trust it. We're not whitewashing. We're not covering up for anything. There are no cover-ups by us. If he did it, so the Torah says, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. The fact that if we would have said it. And therefore the Torah is telling you they didn't. He ran away. Okay, so that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is that the way you deal with these things. Yosef is criticized here because on the day of that parade, she'd been pursuing him all along. On the day of the parade, knowing that she was home alone, he went into the house. What are you going anywhere near there for? Why are you going anywhere near there? You should have stayed away. The test is not at the moment of the test. The test is when you make the decision to put yourself in the place of the test. So if a guy says, well, yeah, I was downtown last night and I went to a bar and something bad happened. Yeah, something bad happened. You know when the bad thing happened? Not when you met the person in the bar. The bad thing happened when you made the decision to go to the bar. What do you think is going to happen at a bar? You learn Baba Kama? Well, what do you think is going to happen at a bar? You discuss philosophy, right? The decision to go to the bar, that's where you made your mistake. That's where Yosef's criticism is. The criticism for Yosef is not that and eventually he overcomes it. Eventually he runs away. But the fact that you were even put yourself there, what are you putting yourself in that position for? And that's a life lesson for all of us. You know that you have a problem over there. You know every time you drive down a certain street, you end up at a treif restaurant. I got a weakness for Kentucky Fried Chicken. Every time I drive down that street, I end up in the what do you call it, going into Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, you know what? Your challenge isn't once you're in the store. Your challenge is don't drive down that street. You know you have a weakness, and so on and so forth. That's the lesson. Okay, next time we'll continue with the prison, with the dream, the first step of dream interpretation.